Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we have a good episode in store for you, but as is our new custom, we are going to start with an Am I the A-hole reaction. Before we jump into that, if you are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let us know your thoughts on the topic and this Am I the A-hole scenario in the comments. And if you are listening to this on a podcast platform, just know that we do have the YouTube channel, so you can come over and join us there or send us a DM on Instagram at Girlfriends and Goals Podcast. All right, let's go ahead and get into the scenario.
All right. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister's wedding early after her maid of honor humiliated me in her speech? I, 27-year-old female, was a bridesmaid at my older sister's wedding last week. The wedding was beautiful and everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid of honor, who has been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but she made a joke about how I was a family screw-up, who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid's duties. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny. For context, I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health and dropped out of college for a while. I've since gotten my life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all of our family and friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend and I never really got along, but still I never expected something like this from her. Especially the day that wasn't about me at all, then why even bring it up to me in the speech? I tried to stay composed, but I felt the tears coming, so I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said it was a joke and she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't and ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I do feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I had the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Am I the a-hole?
I don't think she is. What do you think?
I don't think she is at all.
Okay,
And
yeah. I think the
this,
best friend maid of honor is for sure. Like, you don't, first of all, you're not even my family member to be joking like that with me. We don't get along. Like certain jokes, if a close friend who I know has no ill intent says it, I can laugh. Like, you would think they are Eddie Murphy in his delirious era, because that's how hard I would laugh. But if you're someone who I don't have that relationship with, don't make me the butt of your joke.
not only that, this is your best friend's sister, so where's the respect? And so I understand that you feel like, oh, I've been in your life since childhood. I'm just as close as you are. No, that's
No.
still her sister. And so it also makes me wonder, how comfortable has the sister been with divulging certain information? I mean, maybe
Yes.
has she been venting too much? Even the sister's reaction of, oh, but it was just a joke or it wasn't a big deal. I
Yeah.
would probably be more hurt by my sister's reaction
Same.
than the best friend, what the best friend did.
Yeah, and to your point about how comfortable has the sister been with divulging information, how comfortable has the sister been in the past with disrespect? Like, is it something that she's allowed? Is it that when they're together, the sister is the butt of the joke sometimes, so it wasn't out of the ordinary for her to do that on the speech? Like, why draw attention to someone who the day isn't about? Like, I understand that if you're going up there, I understand her issues with that, because if you're going up there to make a speech about your best friend for her wedding, the only people who you need to mention are your best friend, yourself, and the groom. There's no need to throw shade at me, in front of all these people. That's not nice.
And it makes me think about, I don't know, maybe etiquette regarding speeches at weddings. I've been to a few where I just shake my head. Obviously, I don't say anything, but I've sat through some cringy moments where the speeches just go so far beyond the topic of the day. And you're just sitting there awkwardly. You're just
People be
like,
like, "This my moment. I'm about to get everything off my chest." And it's like, is that the time or place?
I've actually been to a wedding where the sister was the maid of honor and was giving the
Okay.
speech, and I felt was just doing way too much. I think there was a lot of history there as far as the relationship, and I felt just a little she used that moment to air way too much out, meaning like, oh yeah, we're together and we're cool now, but for a while it was bad and it was this and that.
It's not even about you. Like, girl, just say congratulations to the couple and sit down. If you don't have much to say that's, productive, just go ahead and say congratulations. Or better yet, you don't have to speak. Like, just decline.
There's nothing wrong with keeping it short and sweet. I also don't think you're the a-hole because you politely excused yourself.
Right.
You could have approached the maid of honor like still during the wedding. Girl, what was that?
Do you remember the MTV, I don't know, the VMAs when Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj were beefing? And so Nikki gets on to say her speech, and she's like, "And to that girl who was talking, Miley was good," or she said something like that. Like it could have turned into that if she were a true a hole, but she
Yeah,
didn't. Like, she didn't say anything to the best friend. She didn't even say anything to her sister or her parents. Like she literally handled it on her own.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, there is an edit if you want me to
Ooh,
read it.
I do.
Okay, so this is the first edit. I said nothing at the moment because I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day, which I think was the right way to handle it.
Yeah.
I can't reason with her right now because she will just ask me if I haven't been taking my meds lately. That's what she does when she's angry with me, so I'm giving her some time to maybe realize how her best friend's joke was out of line.
Oh, I feel so bad for her. What's the second edit? Read it
Oh
quick.
man,
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
have something to say, but I'll save it.
No, no,
Okay.
no, say it.
I think the way that sometimes people react to people who have chosen to address their mental health, whether it's through going to therapy, counseling, or taking medication,
Yeah.
the way that people react sometimes will push people in a corner to not seek help. It's like, oh, well, because you're in therapy now, or you're the problem. It
Yeah.
sometimes can be used as an excuse to absolve other people in real situations that need to be addressed. So yeah, so the second edit says someone asked me if my sister's best friend and I argued before, slash, did I give her a reason to do this? My sister's best friend and I never went past hi. She told me before a few years ago that she in general doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because in her head, God only knows what they're capable of. Since she said this, or to this day, I just try to avoid her. So
Oh, it's so sad. I thought the second edit was gonna make me feel better, but it just makes me feel even worse for her.
no, this best friend is way too comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Like
Even if you thought all of that, why say it?
because her sister has allowed it for a while. Like,
Hmm.
with certain people you have to nip stuff in the bud. Like, okay, this is only okay when I say it about my siblings or about my parents or about my family in general. Like, you can't. Like, you and I have been friends for a long time and have disclosed things to each other,
Hmm.
but it'll never make me look at anybody differently. Like it's family stuff. And if you don't know the details of what she's been going through, or even worse, if you do know the details of what she's been struggling with, and you still choose to be a jerk in front of all these people, like you don't know if she has anxiety, and so like that could also compile. It just rubs me the wrong way.
And this is where it's so important to have the right people close to you because to me, this is a breaking of trust. Even if I did say, oh, Samaria, I'm feeling this, or you say, oh, I'm feeling this way about my family or another friend, you have to trust that people can read the room and act accordingly. That would be such
Yeah.
a breach of trust to even bring it up. To bring it up at all and to do it on the wedding day.
And then like I don't know, bridesmaids duties aren't they're not even that difficult if you're dealing with a simple bride. So to be like, oh, at least that's like saying at least she woke up this morning and brushed her teeth, which by the way, if you are struggling with depression, some days you might not even be able to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, y'all
Anyway,
let
she's
us
not the
know.
a-hole.
Yeah, we don't think she's the a-hole, and I don't know. You may need to give it some time and have a heart to heart with your sister. Yeah,
If that'll even work, because some people
I
don't want to
know.
hear critiques.
And she's probably thinking, well, this has been my best friend, it's still gonna be my best friend.
Anyway, child. Yeah, you guys let us know in the comments what you think, and we are going to jump into the topic for today, which is cosmetic surgery. So, I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, there was a certain like connotation that came along with cosmetic surgery, and it wasn't positive, and it wasn't something that everybody was doing, and the people who did it were on TV, and they would often get criticized for it. So it was a very like negative, or society's approach and thoughts about it were very negative. Was that your experience as well growing up?
I don't know. I can't say that it was negative because, to be
Okay.
honest, I can think of less than a handful of people that I knew to have had cosmetic surgery
In real
growing
life.
up. Yeah, in real life. So
Okay.
I would say for me, it seemed to be more secretive. If someone did have work done, they only told people super close to them. You only maybe knew because maybe they were recovering for 6 weeks. So you kind of had to know maybe if they weren't able to attend certain things. But I can see a difference in just nowadays you see people showing their whole recovering journey, or even this is how I picked my plastic surgeon. This is
Yeah.
the recovery process. This is round two. So I think it was just more secretive in that if someone still got a boob job, they just popped out with it.
Sometimes you got to pop out and show.
You're like, oh, like the earliest I can remember was there was a young lady who went to high school with me who got a boob job for graduation. Yeah.
Really?
And
For graduation?
for graduation. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the summer between I guess when you graduate high school and you start college. And I found out through another person, but I would have noticed when I saw her because you can see a difference.
That's Miosha, I kid you not, unless maybe I was just oblivious to it. I didn't know anybody personally who was having any types of procedures. It was
So
all people on TV for me.
So something that I also realized once I got to college is that in certain communities that plastic surgery is more prevalent
Okay.
younger. So I think for us we maybe were in a bit of a bubble in terms of
Yeah.
our experience and exposure, because I will say the people that I knew, so that one young lady from high school, her and I weren't close, but
Yeah.
I it was just a person I knew. And then when I got to college, I remember my freshman year, girls are talking like, "Oh yeah, I got this done," or "I'm planning to get this done on Christmas
What?
break."
We
Yeah,
went to the same college. Where were you meeting these people?
the dorms.
Okay, I was not in the dorms.
Yeah, or at my part-time job at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, I was shocked too, like, oh, people are doing this. And at the time, I remember thinking, one, where are you getting the money? But I think some of their parents would pay for it. But also, like, man, we're so young, and I don't even want needles. I don't have tattoos or anything. Like, I don't want seek to inflict pain on my body unnecessarily. So I just remember thinking, man, that's these are major surgeries that you're having. But yeah, they would do it over Christmas break. So
Wow. Yeah, so I just remember like, Ice-T's wife, Coco.
oh
So when I
yeah.
think about when I was growing up, cosmetic surgeries, like those are the extreme examples that I can think of. Ice-T's wife, Coco, and other celebrities, like do you remember Tara Reid?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I feel like she did at some point, but it was just this thing where it wasn't a common thing that I was seeing in my world. Yeah.
I think for a while it was something that celebrities did, and even for some celebrities I think more of them were getting it done, but even for them it was secretive. I don't
Yes.
know if you've heard this, even with Beyonce. There was this whole thing around the time that I think she launched Ivy Park, and they were like, did she get a
Where she
BBL?
had her, yeah, it was after she had her twins.
Yeah, did she get a tummy tuck? And it was this whole thing. So I think some celebrities, even for them, are more secretive. And then you have others who are like, oh, yeah, I got my tummy tuck immediately after I had my baby pulled out. And they tell you everything. So,
Yeah, like Cardi B apparently had a nose job during the pandemic. I just found this out a couple weeks ago. Not because I sought it out, but you know how the internet works. They just be showing you stuff, whether you want to see it or not. But yeah, apparently she had it and she had denied it for some time. But recently she came out and said, yeah, I did get it done. So even now, it's a thing that's secretive. And I'm sure Botox has been very common in certain like communities too, but as a child growing up, I would have only seen the extreme examples, like the Joan Rivers and like those are
yeah.
the examples that I would have seen. Um, and so you have like recently where it switched from like boob jobs to the whole BBL thing. And I think that's when there was more discourse about it, probably because we had more social media and people are quick to pull up before and after pictures, side by side. But
I think also a reason why there was a transition is that we kind of had this era of you had celebrities, musicians, actors, and then there was this wave of reality TV stars where it was more regular people who became famous in a way, and we started to see them partake in a lot more plastic surgery. Sometimes they denied it, sometimes they didn't, but I think seeing them, I think made seeing them go through plastic surgery procedures, I think maybe influence, along with social media, regular people to entertain the idea of undergoing plastic surgery, like the Kardashians, the Jersey Shores, all them.
okay, so one of the things that used to come up with this whole idea of plastic surgery was, oh, well, people who do this must have low self-esteem, or what do you tell younger kids who are watching people do this? And so there was a lot, at least in my memory, of negative discourse around plastic surgery before. And there still is, I think, but it seems like people have warmed up to the idea a little bit more. And so I just wondered what your take was on that. If you've seen a transition in how society is, how receptive society is to it, and then what your thoughts are around the whole, oh, people who do this have low self-esteem.
I think society has definitely warmed up because there's more information and access out there to it. I also think depending on the procedure, I
Yeah.
think for certain procedures, there isn't as much of a negative connotation attached to it. I think it depends on who you are, what you're getting done, what community you're from. And so I know, for example, in certain communities, nose jobs are prevalent. And so I don't know if they have the same negative connotations as a BBL. Also, I think risk. I think BBLs are the most risky plastic surgery there is to have. So I think
Oh, are
for
they?
many people, them seeing someone decide to undergo that procedure, they can run with the notion of, oh, you're willing to risk your life. You must have such low self esteem that you're willing to do that for such a risky procedure. So, yeah, I think society is more open to it.
No, I'll just to add to that. Is it a self-esteem thing though? What are your thoughts on that? Because I've seen people now who I've seen both, right? I've seen people who have undergone a lot of different procedures and talked about, oh, I thought this would give me better self esteem, but it didn't. And once I started, there were other things that I wanted to fix and get done. But then I've also seen people who are like, oh, I've just always wanted, you know, this thing to fill out my clothes a little bit differently. And so I went and got this done, and that was it for me. So is it really linked to self-esteem?
I think only the person undergoing it will know. I think I think self-esteem could be a big part of it. And for the person that you mentioned who maybe didn't know until they started undergoing the procedures what all was there, I think it's just one of those things where maybe sometimes you don't know until you're in it or until you've gone through it. So yeah, I think it could be both. It could be non-existent. I don't know. I think only the person who's going through it really knows. They could say, "Oh, I don't care about what people think, and my self-esteem is fine." Okay, well, we have to take your word for it. I'm not in your head. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I asked that because, like, if someone got braces, maybe they just want their smile to look better. They feel good about themselves, but they're like, oh, that's something, this is an imperfection that I can fix with braces. And so they go and do it. So I guess the point I would make is not everybody does this because of low self-esteem. Sometimes people just want to improve their appearance because appearance is, as much as some people don't like it, it is a currency in this day and age.
And sometimes I think when people have the blanketed response of, oh, well, it's because they have low self-esteem, they're going to get all this work done, I think they are diminishing the appearance, how much appearance affects your life and just how superficial society can be.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you're a person who naturally has a beautiful smile, or you naturally have a shape that is deemed as more desired, or you naturally grow really long hair and you're just blessed in a physical way, you maybe can't relate to a person who has lived their whole life in their body, going through certain experiences. To be honest, people do treat you differently based off of how you look. Now, I'm not saying that you should run and change everything about you to fit society's mold or anything,
Yeah.
but it's, I think, extremely naive to think that, oh, well, you wanting to straighten your teeth is just because you have low self-esteem, or you want to go get LASIK, or you want to have a tummy tuck so you don't have sagging skin after having children. I think
Yeah.
that's just, I don't know. It really diminishes how appearance affects our daily lives. I
I
mean,
will say, and you alluded to this earlier, but certain types of surgery get more smoke than others. So I know for people who decide to do weight loss surgery, a lot of times I've seen commentary online where it's like, oh, this person must be lazy, or they didn't want to be patient enough or consistent enough to see the results on their own. And so it's like, but you don't know how long this person has been consistent and maybe it's not working. Or you underestimate how much work they have to put in to maintain the body once they have it. And so I think certain things are more acceptable than others. Like people getting their teeth done, you don't really hear much smoke about that, really.
not unless they come out with chiclet looking teeth.
Right. Then you hear all the all the feedback on that.
Was it T.I.'s son? He got his teeth done within the last
Oh,
like six
really?
months, and the internet has been roasting him. It's really unfortunate.
Oh goodness, I didn't know that. I never mind. I was gonna say something. I was gonna say I try to avoid all news about certain celebrities, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I've noticed that the type of surgery. So if someone did, and even like remove surgery, but like the lip injections, I know I'm someone who like, especially when I watch these TV shows and I see how not well those procedures are done. I'm just like, girl, you could have just stuck with the other lips that you had, like you. So that's something that even I have to be mindful of making comments about because I think that is one that at least now is more like I'm seeing it a lot, like people with the lips thing. But
Yeah, I think we all have to be mindful of maybe the commentary that we make just because everyone's life experience is different. And, I think even for, say, the BBL surgery, I know a lot of people are like, oh, the BBLs are out of control.
the
And
thighs don't match.
however, if you're a person who's always had a mainstream nice shape, it's like, okay, well, if this is what they feel will make them happy, let them have that. I mean, if they're willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
So,
And I also think sometimes it just doesn't look good to anybody except them. And so that's another thing that makes people want to comment like, okay, so we understand that you want it to improve, but was this an improvement? Or was it not, and maybe to them it is an improvement and hopefully they did it for themselves, but
yeah.
uh,
But now you probably haven't been seeing this, but there are a lot of videos on YouTube of women talking about plastic surgery regret. Not even just because they were botched, but they're on the other side of it and maybe realize, oh, this procedure set certain things in motion in my body. I think a more mainstream example is K. Michelle, how she had
yeah.
all of that reversed, or as much of it as she could now that she's older. And so I think that also impacts maybe how people feel about some of these procedures. Before, we didn't have access to the information to know, okay, well, what does maybe this look like after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? And now we know. And so I think it pushes people to be maybe more critical up front about these procedures now that we are seeing a bit more the trajectory of how it could go.
Yeah, but I will say most of the people who I've seen get stuff done are happy with it long term. You know, even the
Because they
person who
probably
I
didn't do anything extreme.
well, even the person who I mentioned earlier who was saying, okay, I felt like once I did one thing, I kept on finding other things to do. Even they seem happy with their body and what it looks like now. They've incorporated more fitness into their routine, and so that's working out for them. But I don't think that person has regret about how her body looks. I think she just realized, oh, I see how people can get addicted to this, and maybe I need to take a step back because it's not serving me. But most of the people who I've seen who've had stuff done, they're happy with it long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but a lot of times you'll hear people say, "Oh, what about the kids? Like, what are we suggesting to young girls when we make these types of things acceptable?" And I have like two thoughts that I often go between when it comes to this. So I want to hear your thoughts first, though.
Oh, yeah, the kids are important. However, I don't know. I Can you live your life just for the kids? So one, do women and men feel the same pressures as far as how we maneuver through our daily life, making decisions for ourselves? Do we carry the same weight and pressure equally? I don't think so. When the question is asking what about the kids, I think it's more so geared towards women who are
Yeah.
undergoing these procedures versus if a man decided to go, like men are getting lipo for abs now. No one's saying, well, what about the young boys who are they going to want to have abs now too? No one's asking that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think you have to find the right balance and it's a personal decision. I think if you say are a mom and you're undergoing certain procedures, you have to decide, okay, what am I comfortable with maybe exposing my daughter or son to as far as the work that I'm getting done. So ultimately it's a personal decision. I don't know that you should lean so far into never do anything you want to do for your body just because of the kids.
But yeah, and not even just your own kids though, but just kids in general. I remember a few years ago, Cardi B, I feel like I'm bringing her up a lot in this episode, but she was like, I am not anybody's role model. Like, I'm not the role model, which of course, because she has a platform, people are like, you might not want to be, but you are. You know, people do see your success and look up to you. But yeah, you're right. That is pressure that is often put on women. Like Drake, and yeah, he was recently exposed by other rappers for his surgeries, and nobody really, like, it's funny, but nobody's like, oh, you know, the entire moral compass of everybody now rests on Drake. Nobody's doing that. Or what's that right? Bad Bunny? He has a completely different like face structure from
Oh, I have
before.
to go look.
Have you?
I haven't looked.
Yeah, I've seen online like his before and after pictures, and it's two different people, honestly.
Wow, so he's another Kylie. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, well, honestly, anybody in that family. Oh God, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, she's the most notable of like before and after as far as like the amount of work on her face specifically.
Okay, I was gonna go either her or her sister.
Chloe?
Yes,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that has been quite the transition.
It
Um,
has been.
but yeah, when it comes to the kids, the two things that I go in between are, okay, on one hand, we're saying, hey, if there's something that you don't like or something that you feel could improve your life, it's okay to go out there and get it. So that's something that we're giving. But then on the other hand, some might say it's suggesting that you shouldn't love how you already are. Like that's the big conversation of you should love who you are already and not lean towards. I'm just saying those are the two arguments at least that I have heard and go between.
So, under that assumption, and maybe I'm jumping to an extreme, are we
Yeah.
saying that people who seek out cosmetic work in general don't love themselves?
And that's the issue. So back to the self-esteem thing, I've seen people who, at least from the outside, I don't know, love themselves, love how they look, and they're just like, oh, this thing could elevate my look. Like, who's not trying to elevate their look at some point? When we're going to a nice dinner, we'll elevate our look with, makeup. In this video, I don't have foundation on, but if it's a certain event, bring on the foundation, concealer, contour, I don't know, bring it all on. So, yeah, those are just the points that I've heard make. Now, I will say, as it pertains to young children, who's to say the filters they see on Instagram or the Photoshop that they see, like those things are also having a negative impact on them. So if we're going to be so concerned about one thing, we also need to make sure that we are concerned about every other thing. The other thing that I would say is, if I were to give advice to a younger person, maybe I would say don't follow the trends with your body. So when we first started talking, I said, oh, boob jobs were in. And then it switched to, oh, BBLs are the thing. And now we're slowly moving away from that. I think people are still going to get BBLs, but nothing extreme anymore. But
Yeah, being super slim is like
Yeah.
creeping back in. Yeah.
it's creeping back in. Or the hourglass shape, was a thing. So people were getting, stuff in their hips to prevent hip dips and all this stuff. And so I think I would say be mindful of making your body on trend. That's the thing that I would be mindful of. I remember Jackie Aina, when she got her breast procedure, she was saying it's something that she had wanted for a long time. And by the time she got hers, that wasn't necessarily in style. So she was saying, I didn't do this just to be on trend with what is already out there. I did it because I thought it could enhance my look and I wanted to look a certain way in my clothes. And so that's why I did it. And so maybe some people are more okay with that approach than others.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a bad thing to expose your children to wanting to show up as what they feel as the best version of themselves. Now, obviously, surgery is serious and that's taking it to another level, but I don't know if exposing them to that is necessarily wrong. Like, I've seen a few mommy vloggers who've had a few children, and their children are there as they're recovering through their mommy makeovers. And so I don't know that there's anything wrong with them being exposed to mommy had children, my body changed, I want to correct it, and these are the steps that I'm going to go through to do it.
Yeah.
Or
I
or is it mommy should just love all the stretch marks and extra skin and this and that, and which is fine too.
Yeah, I think we
I
would both
think both are
agree.
fine.
Right. We would both agree we're not trying to tell anybody what to do. I don't know if you watch The View.
Mm-mm, not really, but
Okay, but Sunny from The View, I want to say she had a breast reduction, and then she was like, "Well, if I'm going on the knife anyway, go ahead and give me this tummy tuck or something else that she did." But when she came out, there was a whole, I don't remember what magazine, but there was an entire article on her and what she did and conversations that she had with her. I think her daughter might have been 15 at the time, with her 15-year-old daughter. So I think, again, those things are fine. I would just be mindful of, okay, well, this is a trend. So with the mommy makeover, maybe I'm exposing myself, but I don't necessarily, if I had to rank the way that everybody does and say, oh, this is something that I would heavily critique versus this is something I wouldn't, I think at the bottom of my list would be the mommy makeover, like down there with braces. But I do think it's just worth being mindful about, hey, you don't have to change your body to keep up with the trends. Like, if you have a unique look, it's okay to lean into your unique look. You don't have to add this or add that. And don't let the people who have high visibility and their changes to their bodies encourage you to make changes that you don't want to make, or encourage you to make changes just because that's how people nowadays look. You know,
yeah, because in 5 years it may not be the thing.
we'll have a
Now it's
different
the
look.
thing to get veneers and all that, and then what about when that look isn't in and you've shaved down all your natural teeth?
I know. Yeah, like remember when Megan Good, I guess she had her eyebrows tattooed,
Oh
which
yeah, the microblading.
yeah, I mean, but it was fixable because
Yeah,
now
there
she
it's
has, yeah.
temporary. Yeah.
So you just, trends change, and so just make sure that it's not a thing where, oh, my body needs to be on trend. I think that's the biggest thing that I would say. I don't think there's an issue with making changes how you see fit, because you think it'll look better for you, or people who get breast reductions because it'll feel better for you. I don't necessarily think there's an issue with that.
I was gonna ask you, do you think celebrity or regular people we know should be open and honest about the plastic surgery that they're getting done? Because I was thinking about, we are talking about the impact to the children and young people, and they're obviously, they're on TikTok, Instagram, they're seeing these bodies. Do you think people should be open about the work they're getting done, or just not say anything at all?
I don't know that people have to say anything. Where things get blurred for me is if you are pushing workouts to people, but you've not achieved your body through workouts. That is something that I would want you to be honest about. Like, don't have people thinking, oh, if I just do Pilates, or if I just eat a certain way or work out in this way, then I can achieve this body, when that's not even true for you. So I'm not here for lying to people. But if someone, I don't know, got a nose job and didn't want to, reveal that to people, what is the big deal?
Okay.
That's their business,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. I'm on the fence with that one. I think part of me says, okay, be more open because people should know the difference between this is likely what real natural bodies look like within range, obviously,
Right.
and this has been completed by a doctor. As far as expectations, but I'm also of the mindset of that's no one's business what you do with your
Yeah.
body. You're not a spectacle, maybe unless you are an influencer pushing something. But
And I mean, again, before plastic surgeries, or even now that we still have, like, that we have plastic surgeries and they're more prevalent, people were still photoshopping things. People who had platforms or were artists, like those album covers are so airbrushed and so, like everything is snatched and this and that. So there's been dishonesty about bodies for a long time. So, I mean, do they always have to reveal when something has been photoshopped, or
yeah.
do we just assume, oh, okay, there's probably some Photoshop work
And
that has
and I
gone
think
on,
maybe that's a conversation you have with your children,
that
not
those things
just the
aren't real?
exposure that they have to you and what you're doing or not doing, but what they're also seeing online and in the media.
Do you feel like there's an age that you would recommend or not recommend for procedures? So you mentioned the girl who got her stuff done for high school graduation. Is there an age that you would, as Auntie Miosha, be like, okay, baby, maybe not yet. Maybe wait
Yeah.
until this age.
It depends on the procedure.
Okay.
I think, I mean, 18 is very young. I wouldn't say you have your full adult body just yet. So, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm coming into my 20s, I'm 19 and I want to have the breast I want in my 20s, then yeah, I don't think that that would be too young. Um, yeah, I think it just depends on the procedure. Yeah, when you're younger, your body does heal faster, I guess. So,
Yeah. And
I
I
mean,
guess
there is an upside to doing it
not
younger.
everybody wants to wait for the glow up. Some people want,
Right. And some people will say, oh, well, wait until you have kids. Well, what if you don't want kids? What if you don't end up having children? Then you've waited all this time and maybe not being in the having your body the way that you want for this event that may or may not happen.
yeah.
So I don't know that there is a particular age, but I will say when I see young girls or young women who are in their early 20s having the BBL procedure, I do see a lot of discourse around like, oh, you shouldn't have touched your body this young. You should have waited. I don't
Yeah. And I mean,
know.
I will say it is nice to look at pictures from when I was 18 and I look 18, or I
And you
look
look
like,
18.
yeah,
Makeup looks 18. Hair looks 18. Everything looks 18.
honestly, with me, it probably still has, because I haven't, like, I don't know. It's just nice to look back and see, okay, this was that age. But because you mentioned Kylie, that girl hasn't looked her age since she was like 12 to me.
And let's get into how when you're getting this work done or even wearing heavy amounts of makeup, how it ages you. I don't know. I don't know if it's because makeup is more readily accessible or in the lashes and all that. And I'm here for it. It's just when I see young women that I can tell they're young, but they have so much of it on or they've had, certain work done. They may be 20 but they look 28. So, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's clear to say, like, we obviously are supporters of people doing whatever they want to do, but there are still gray areas about this that we haven't even fully worked out. Like, okay, how do you have this conversation? Obviously, you take it day by day, like, based on the kids who are in your life. you would have conversations depending on who they are, what their personalities are, what they're interested in or what they're not interested in. It's not like a blanket statement like, oh, this is what we have to do for all of the kids, period, because we're not all interacting with all of the kids. So, yeah, those are some of our thoughts about this. What do you guys think about like the age, the transparency around work being done, keeping your body on trend, even though trends change often? And are you here for the prevalence of cosmetic surgeries or not? Do you feel like however you come out, deal with the cards that you've been dealt, and that's that? I don't. Just so you know, we do Am I the A-hole reactions every Tuesday. So come back for a new episode of that every Tuesday. And we typically release podcast episodes on Fridays. But yeah, go ahead and comment and let us know what you guys think. And we will see you guys on the next podcast episode. All right, bye.
Bye.